Today's show brought to you in part by our friends at Walt and Whitman right here in Saratoga. Great spot. The racing form, the physical copies of it now on sale at Walt and Whitman too. You can get them in the cafe. You can get them in the tavern part at night. Basically, the cafe, it's upstairs. It's great coffee. It's breakfast. You can see the hours right there on the screen if you're watching, opening at 8 a.m. And then you've got the room downstairs. Fantastic beer, Detroit-style pizza, great sandwiches and snacks available. And I'm a huge fan of these beers. You're going to want to check out Walt and Whitman Brewing when you come to Saratoga Springs. Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for Friday, July 23rd. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornatale, back with you in the Degenerate Flophouse, once again, adjacent to the Little House on the east side here in Saratoga Springs. Recording this on Friday morning. Looks like a lovely weather day. You always have to cross your fingers up here with these microclimates when you say that. But we've got a great show for you today. We're going to have Scottie Mckeever of Equine Edge talking about Del Mar, Matt Vagvolgyi on the Saratoga $1 pick 6 on Saturday. And then Drew Coatney will be here later on to talk about Woodbine Saturday card. Really looking forward to it. And we'll kick it all off right after this. Listen up, people. It's not too late to check out the free month of Equine Edge. This software is really informing the way I'm playing this summer. Came up with that nice Wesley Ward winner for Ms. Fitzy Hay the other day. Pretty much straight off the Equine Edge GSR. It's a really cool product. You'll hear it talked about a lot in the next segment. Fueled by AI, number of different algorithms, putting computer tools in the hands of players in a way that's easy and fun to look at. And you get a free month. Normally you get a free weekend, maybe a free week. You get a free month if you use our promo code. That's free money. So upon sign up, you put in that promo code free money and you choose the option that costs $0, and there you have your free month. You can also go directly to the URL equinedge.com/free money. That's equinedge.com/free money. First up on the show today, a man, you just heard about him and his product, which I've been enjoying immensely this summer. The product is Equine Edge. The man, and maybe you've seen him on the Del Mar simulcast feed or over on his own YouTube channel for Equine Edge, is Scottie Mckeever. Scottie, how are things?
They're good, Peter. How are you this morning?
Things are excellent. I put our graphics man away today because it says Del Mar Pick 6 up on the screen. We'll be talking about the Del Mar Pick 5, but that's complete host fail on my part. Unless we could maybe do a quick thought on that first race.
We can do a pick 6.
Okay, all right, maybe we'll do it. We'll keep the graphic accurate. So we'll we'll leave that bit in. But Scottie, before we do that, I've got a little story to tell you that I think you're going to enjoy. So the other day, my mom comes to the track. Maybe once, maybe twice a meet, makes the trip up from Long Island. And this time she brought her sister, my aunt, with her. She had shown a little bit of interest in doing some handicapping. And rather than go through the full-on explanation of the classic past performances, I said, there's this new product you might want to try. And I explained what Equine Edge was, powered by AI, algorithm fueled, easy to use, looks more like a video game than something you might sit down and look at with your accountant. And I showed her a few basic things and some of the algorithms that have stood out to me and some of the metrics that have stood out to me, the strength of race, the genetic strength rating, all that kind of good stuff. Long story short, she proceeds to hit the next 3 exactas and is now ready to rejoin the workforce as a professional horse player. Now, I told her it wasn't that easy, but it was, I thought, a fun endorsement of Equine Edge. I imagine you hear stories like that from time to time.
We do. Yeah, we're getting that a lot, especially with like some of the younger people we're getting that have never played before, and they don't know any other handicapping besides Equine Edge. And I'm going to I'm working here in the simulcast feed at Del Mar, as you know, and I'm going up to some of the VIP rooms, and there's so many new people who have never been to the track before. And I just go to them and I said, listen, let's make it easy. Take the top Scottie 2 picks, the Scottie long shot, just do an exacta box, $5 box, cost you $30. Just do it that way, right? And people, the very first race I gave them, a 30-to-1 shot Scottie long shot, won the race over the top pick and paid $60 for a buck. They couldn't have been happier. It was really neat to see. And so a lot of the new people are using that. And I think we have a shot. It's going to take some time to get some of the new people, poker players and sports bettors into horse racing, but I think we have a shot.
I like it. And it's also, I'll point out, not just for new players, specifically those 2 metrics I mentioned, I find myself looking at all the time in a world, and my brain is so governed by final figures, pace figures, envisioning pace scenarios and trips, that I sometimes get the concept, the more general concept of class, the more concept of breeding, genetic strength rating, what a horse is really meant to be doing. It doesn't come as intuitively to me. So I've really been using Equinedge as a proxy for my own lack of intuitive inputting of those factors. And so far this meet, it's been very successful. So let's use the Equinedge tool and some classic handicapping to wend our way through this Del Mar Pick 6 sequence. And we're going to start out with race number 6. We've got 3 and up allowance types going a mile on the turf at Del Mar. Where was your eye drawn in here, Scottie?
Well, the Chilean bred Memo Daddy, this 5-year-old for Mike McCarthy. And Mike McCarthy's already having a good meet, but he's going to do very well. Juan Hernandez is going to be really tough and up there. 3rd time here in the country. And this one should do very well on the cutback. Only lost by 3/4 of a length at the same level last time out, going 9 furlongs. So I think that the 3-horse Memo Daddy, but I'm going to use the 3, 4, 9, and 10 in this race. Auto Fire, the Irish bred, and this one might do pretty good here as well coming in here. So that one's for Phil Diamato and Flavian Pratt, so you can't ignore that. And of course, anybody that Joe Bravo's on, the 9-horse, the Southern horse, the Argentinian bred. So we've got a lot of flavor in here, if you will. And the 4-horse Goliad, this one has our top GSR for Richard Mandela, Abel Cedillo, and I think this one might run pretty good as well. So I'm using 3, 4, 9, and 10.
3, 4, 9, 10 for Scottie. I went right to Goliad. You mentioned the GSR angle. Mandela always stands out and looks like one who might just be able to control things on the front end, looking at the Timeform US pace projector. And you never need to twist my arm to include Michael McCarthy. And number 3, Memo Daddy, will be listed amongst my picks as well for the In the Money Plus subscribers who get the little digest of picks. Let's move on to race number 7. This is a really cool baby race. We've got these 2-year-old fillies going 5.5 on the dirt. And I think my view of it, Scottie, is this is an opportunity to maybe take a shot against a horse I think is going to be odds on. The horses that I want to use are the 3 bicameral, by Constitution, good female family. We talked about this horse a lot over on the Baby Talk show. Sean Tugel of Gainesway Farm, our baby race expert, was all about this one. The number 5, Honor It, was another one that I definitely wanted to use for Pratt and Mandela for looking speedy enough in the mornings and having some strong blood. Another I wanted to use was the 6, Dance to the Music. You got to love the Sly and the Family Stone musical reference. My dad would have auto bet number 6, Dance to the Music, where he's still around. This one cost $575,000. And another first or sire I always try to keep on side is McLean's Music. But I think that the market is going to go nuts for number 1, Mirasol, in this spot. I was just a little bit concerned about the rail draw, the way the track has been playing. But I mean, this is a very big pedigree. I'm not going to blame anybody who sides with Mirasol. I just thought it was a chance to get creative. How does it look on the GSR in here?
So Mirasol does have the top GSR, but not by a lot. Has a 69 on the GSR genetic strength rating. It is 8-5 on the EE morning line. I know it's 3-1 on the morning line, 31% to win. Interestingly enough, though, Honor It, the 5-horse, is the top Scottie pick. has a good win percentage, 7-2 on the EE morning line. I really think these works are really good. I think Honor It can run for Richard Mandela. The works are very, very good. Hasn't missed a beat in the mornings. I think that Honor It will be very, very tough. A horse you should watch out for, though, that is 15-1 in the morning line, but is 9-1 on the EE morning line. It's Brimage, the 4-horse. It's a Scotty Longshot, second-time starter coming in from Churchill Downs for Bob Hess Jr. Umberto Rispoli jumps aboard. 15-1 on the EE morning line, but 9-1 on the morning line, excuse me, but 9-1 on the EE morning line. That one might run pretty good as well, and the 3. So believe it or not, I'm going to try to beat the 1 horse on the rail. I agree with you on Mirasol, and I'm going to use the 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, the 5 being a top pick for you there?
The 5 is the top pick for me. Yeah, I honor it.
Excellent. All right, let's move on to some graded stakes action on the day. We'll see if Bob Baffert and Mirasol stuff us in a locker or if we can get through that 7th race with equity. If you want much more on Mirasol's pedigree and that race, check out the Saturday Baby Talk show that should be up by the time you're watching this. But race number 8 is the Grade 2 Eddie Reed, 3 and up, going a mile and an eighth on the turf. Very, very interesting race. I'll let you kick it off, Scotty.
Oh, well, I just think it's all about smooth like straight. I mean, this one, 7 wins in 15 tries for Mike McCarthy. Umberto again, 45% to win. The morning line is 9-5, but on the EE morning line, 4-5. It has the top GSR as well. Been in the money in all 3 tries. You know, and there's horses like Grade 3 horses, Grade 2 horses. Smooth like straight is an absolute Grade 1 horse, no question about it. I'm going to control the speed. The 5 award winner, it does have some speed, but Smooth Like Straight can be right off of that horse and draws the outside of that 5 horse. So I think that really helps a lot. So I like the post draw, tactical. Smooth Like Straight's my single of the day.
I have very little to add. The only thing I'll say that's great about the GSR, because it backs up my little narrative, which is if you have a question about Smooth Like Straight, it's probably the distance, looking back to Derby Day and the Turf Classic. But the 2 runners Smooth Like Straight ran against there would be heavily favored in here. I don't think it's that Smooth Like Straight didn't get the distance. I just think that Colonel Liam and Domestic Spending are very, very good. Smooth Like Straight for me in this year's Eddie Reed. Let's move on to race number 9. We've got 3 and up Calbred allowance types going 6.5 on the dirt. This is a situation for me. I'm curious if you agree, since it's your program, but you've mentioned before when a lot of the different algorithms on Equinedge line up, how potent that can be. For me, there's a lot of fingers pointing in the direction of number 7, Jazz Hands. This is the top Scotty pick. That's the algorithm based on Scotty's old school handicapping, for lack of a better word. The top win percentage, the lowest Equinedge morning line. That's a guess of what the public is going to bet, but there's signal in it as well. The Equinedge morning line here much lower than the actual morning line. Now, it is interesting because Jazz Hands is making a surface switch and does not stand out in terms of the genetic strength rating, but this horse has old dirt races that were okay and hasn't run on dirt since being gelded. I also think in terms of just my usual handicapping process that this one's going to get a good trip, just looking on pace figures and how the field plots out. It's Jazz Hands for me in race number 9. Do you agree?
I'm thinking this race might be a little bit tougher. I think the horse will run good. I don't like the surface switch. I think this horse has been a hard knocker, but and this isn't necessarily the toughest field in the world. I think that once you get past Jazz Hands, I don't even know who's going. Honestly, I'm picking a number in here because I think if it really looks tough to me, I think you could see a better effort from the 4. I'll Stand Taller for Doug O'Neill, and that horse might run good. Has an 11% chance of winning. So Jazz Hands is at 33%. And then once you get there, you've got 14% with the 6, 13% with the 3, Joe Don Looney. So, I mean, First Prez, the 5 horse, is an interesting horse as well. I think this horse been racing very competitively. Nice second place finish on the turf last time out. And the GSR is okay at 57, but it looks like that type of race for me. I'm going to just kind of go with the EE morning lines and stick with the 7 horse. I'm going to go with the 3, 5, 7, And 3, 4, 5, 7 is what I'm going to go with here. I just, there's something about the 7 I don't love. I like the post. I will say this about the 7. I think that post and that tactical speed is spot on. But this seems to be a little bit more competitive race than maybe it looks like on the numbers. So 3, 4, 5, 7 for me.
I get it for sure. But it also points out something cool about Equine Edge. You can be looking at the same data and come up with different horses. There's still that fun puzzle solving aspect to it. It's not just meant to be some black box where everybody looks at it is going to come up with the same horse.
That's the best point. Absolutely. And that was the entire purpose of an Equine Edge from the beginning. It's just a different way of handicapping, but the metrics, everybody that looks, you get 1,000 people that would look at this at one race and everybody will pick something different. And that's exactly what it's meant to be, subjective handicapping. Yeah.
Let's look at race number 10, graded stakes action once again with the 3-year-old fillies in the grade 2 San Clemente going 1 mile on the turf. Scotty, who's your idea of the winner?
Well, of course, going global, the Irish bred's getting the filly, 3-year-old filly for Phil D'Amato is going to be, undefeated, and she does look good. She's not done anything wrong. She has a nose for the wire. She's going to be tough. She's cutting back here in distance, but I think that's going to be good for her. The GSR is good. It's a 77, but there's some really nice horses in here. The 12-horse Closing Remarks is fantastic. This one broke last of 10 horses last time out and clipped heels and still only lost by a length and a half. I think Closing Remarks is the real deal. Now, of course, I don't like the 12-hole at all. That's not a good place to be. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Closing Remarks. I can't imagine that Carla Gaines likes that post. I think at the end of the day, I would have used the 2 and the 12, but I think I'm going to have to single Going Global because of the post that Closing Remarks, the 12, has. But I do think Closing Remarks will be a good second probably in there. I think it's cold, and maybe throw a look at the 9-horse Madone, right? So this one ran good in the Senorita 2 back. I don't know what happened in the last race. Maybe bounced a little bit off of that layoff 2 back. So maybe take a look at the 9-horse for Simon Callahan. He can get a horse ready, but I'm going to just stick with the 2-horse and I'm going to single the 2.
Got it exactly the same. I love the look of that last race for Going Global. Yes, it was earned with the benefit of a setup, but it was fast throughout, and I'm not overthinking it. Definitely my big A here is Going Global. Here was my thought on Closing Remarks. I absolutely agree with everything you said, but I'm wondering if this isn't the case where between being a little bit slower than Going Global and the bad post, that this just contributes to Closing Remarks being a bit of an overlay. In my pick bets, I'm going to use Closing Remarks as a backup. In this race, if Closing Remarks is, bet down below the morning line from that post, I will probably pass. But I don't want to get caught askance if Closing Remarks runs well off that crazy trip last time. And then I also agree, I don't really have an excuse for Madone's last run, but based on the race 2 back, it makes all the sense in the world. And I don't particularly want to lose to the 9 as well. So both of us here, the 2 is an A and the 12 and the 9 as B's. Let's move on to our nightcap, race number 11. We've got $16,000 claimers, 3 and up fillies and mares going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Scotty, how are we going to get paid?
Well, I hate to take the favorite, but Traffic Stopper is not going to be easy to beat. This one is running here in this non-winners of 2 lifetime. Ran a good race last time out, got a nice second place finish at 6 furlongs, comes right back, gets a good distance for Mike Pipey. Flavian Pratt aboard. Going to be right there. Going to be the horse that's going to be in the money for me, but I'm not going to single it. Chewy Good, the 8-horse, I'm going to end up making my top pick. I just think this horse is going to run better here. Coming in from Churchill Downs, has some speed. I like the 8 post. I think Chewy Good could be very, very tough, but I'm going to use 3 horses in here. I'm going to use the 3 Plum Wild, the 6 Traffic Stopper, and Chewy Good. So 3, 6, 8. But I'm going to make the 8 my top pick.
I was hoping you would come up with some interesting ones to throw in there on the backup line. So on my backup line, I'll parrot you. I just thought the 6, I had to make my top pick based on my reading of the race. I thought a very straightforward form and figures horse that I'm thinking is going to get the right type of setup under Pratt. I'm hoping doesn't get caught up in the mix with all the different pace horses signed on and can maybe sit more second flight and make one run this time around. It's also a race where you could probably try to tell a story, at least for underneath, about some deeper closer getting in there. Because if they do all go, this could be unsustainably hot. And at this level, sometimes that means a horse that looks significantly slower can sometimes get the job done, just in terms of plodding past everybody. And the one that I'll mention for that possibility that I'll also throw in on the backup line is number 7, Heart River. This one coming from Los Al, second off a very long layoff, but relative to this group at this class level, maybe has enough finish to clunk up there into the number, especially if we're dealing with a pace that melts down. So that's one other I'll mention for you. Scottie, let folks know where they can find you this weekend.
All right. So, I've got my show this morning at 9:30 a.m. Pacific. You can go to equinedge.com for free. And actually, you can use the promo code here and get 1 month for free. And you can, or you can go to YouTube and go to Equinedge Live, and you can subscribe to that YouTube channel, and then you'll get notifications if you click on the bell on my show times. But essentially, I do a show every morning that Delmar runs for the entire meet, as well as the simulcast with John Lees 1 hour before, actually 55 minutes before the first race goes off. We discuss all the races this day at Delmar. Like today, we'll discuss all 8 races today. So I got to get handicapping this morning. And what I'm doing on the shows here at Delmar, on my own shows in the mornings, it's just called Coffee and Handicapping with Scottie at Delmar. And I sit back, have my coffee, and it will be my second cup of coffee, by the way, when I do my show. And we just talk about Delmar, and it's a little bit slower, but at least you have some insight on some of the shows, and they've really been good. We gave out, it was a Scottie long shot, so I wasn't original, but the Scottie long shot, I think it was on Sunday in the 4th race, I want to say, at 30-1, ended up winning that race over the big favorite. And I really wanted to play against that favorite because the favorite went off at 1-2, I believe, but was losing ground in both the lifetime races. And it's something I look for in horses, vulnerable favorites. And that's how you make your money, is beating those vulnerable favorites. But that was an example. So watch the simulcast as well. There's a lot of good information from John and I, and it's a lot of fun as well. And that's going off today because the first race at Delmar is at 4. So that goes off at 3:05 Pacific.
Excellent. Great stuff, Scottie. We'll look for you there. We'll look for you back here next week. Have a fantastic time out there on the West Coast.
All right. Thanks a lot, Peter. Good to be on. I'll see you later.
Today's show also brought to you by our friends at the Brentwood. We've got our live shows on Saturdays, 10:30 a.m. Acacia Courtney joins me this Saturday. Can't wait for that. We have a different guest every Saturday, 10:30 a.m. Travers time TBD. Got to take a little bit longer of a look at that one. But any other Saturday, 10:30, you come by, you join us live. It's also a great spot for a quiet cocktail. You can order in food. And hey, if you're looking for a place to stay, limited availability. It's been a busy summer up here, as everybody knows. But give a call over there and see. And it's never too early to start thinking ahead to next year. Absolutely one of the hippest spots in town, right across from the 7 Furlong Chute. And I love recording there and get to see friends when they come out to listen to the shows on Saturday mornings. Please join us there for Live at the Brentwood and check it out. Next up on the show, very happy to have a returning guest. He's been doing some killer work over at InTheMoneyPodcast.com and especially on In the Money Plus when it comes to this Saratoga meet. Several angles I'm out there looking for at the moment. Maybe we'll even find a couple of them today as we look at the Saturday Saratoga Pick 6. I'm talking about our key team member and fantastic horse player, Matt Vagvolgyi. Matt, how are things?
Doing great, Pete. Doing great. Good start to the Saratoga season. Hopefully keep that going in the Pick 6 today. But yeah, it's been good so far. So good results.
Did you hear me on Bick the other day, or did anybody tell you about it? Steve Bick has created a wrestling character for you.
Oh, really? I did not hear. No, this is news. It's news to me.
Somehow there was like a glitch or something, and instead of saying Matt Vagvolgyi, he heard the Mad Vagvolgyi, and we were envisioning what we think you might need a twin brother. Masks might be involved, but the Mad Vagvolgyis could be coming to a wrestling ring near you.
Oh, I might have to change my Twitter handle for that. That's great. I got to go back and listen to that.
Steve is always a hoot. We had a great time on there. And as I always say, probably don't plug Steve enough on these airwaves. Fastest way to become an insider in this game. Listen to him, whether it's on Sirius XM or over at his website, stevebick.com. And the shows are archived every day. So maybe folks who listen to the network all the time can skip my segments if they're tired of my act, but there's plenty of other interesting people on there as well. Let's talk about this pick 6 on Saturday at Saratoga. It starts off in race number 6. We've got these 2-year-old maidens going 6 furlongs on the dirt. Classic Saratoga Saturday fair here. Tugel and I go deep on this race over on the the Saturday Baby Talk segment. We also have one for the early birds listening to this right away. We have one on some of the Friday baby races as well. Going to be doing baby talks throughout the season. But from your point of view, Matt, how do you want to get this pick 6 kicked off?
Yeah, like you said, it's a tough race to start, but at least you get to see the board. I think that's certainly a good thing. I think some of the traditional connections, I think Midnight Worker, the one with Saez and Pletcher, certainly would make sense first time out. Obviously, Watasha for Ortiz and Chad. Definitely want to see the board for these two here. I think I would lean to Midnight Worker a little bit here, but I also like some horses that ran as well. I think the 4 Chileno first out, I thought that was a good effort first time out. I think with a little bit of experience coming back here. It took a lot of money first time out. It was even money, I know, and finished 4th. I think can improve. I think people may get off the horse a bit for that effort, but I always love a horse first time out. That takes a lot of money, shows a lot of backing early on. So I like the 4 as well. I think for B's for me would be the 3 Bourbon Heist and the 8 Volcanic. I think Bourbon Heist could be a little bit of the pace. I think could step out there. Comes out of that same race with Chileno as well. Also can improve. Volcanic. I thought it was also a nice effort first out. What I like about Volcanic's first race, showed some fight in the stretch. I think that's good to see with a firster. Really fought hard down the lane. So I think that's a horse I think can certainly improve second time out as well. But confusing race, want to see the board, but I think your traditional connections might get it done here.
It is confusing, that's for sure. I'm on the Bourbon Heist train in this spot. A lot of money for a Wilkes firster, did not have the best of trips. And these Wilkes runners, they often show that stair-step pattern in their first few starts, getting better and better. Yes, Bourbon Heist has to improve, but how can he not? One that you didn't mention that I'll throw in there is the 10 Fluid Situation. Bit of a guess, but has a solid debut sire in Warriors Reward, and this dam has dropped 8 winners from 8 starters. Yes, only one of the 8 won first out, but 4 did finish second, and a full to Axelrod, a horse from the last couple of years of some count. Not going to get beat by the 7 Watasha. The barn is overdue to get going. This is a dam that's dropped 5 winners from 5 starters. Buy into Mischief. Another note we made over on the Baby Talk show. Should Watasha run really well, been working with another into Mischief called Key Point. So if Watasha does well, make sure you get Key Point in your stable mail. And I think it's a great point you make about the runner being bet to even money on debut. The ability to forgive those starts when they clearly have talent to get bet that way. They can often run a lot better. I'm looking at 3 different sets of notes here. Which horse was that, Matt?
That was Chileno. That was the number 4.
Right, coming out of the same race as the other one I like. I almost have to use the 4 as a backup as well.
Yep. So. Yeah, for Asmussen and Santana. So I think I always like to see that, and they catch a bit of a price, especially in this when you got Pletcher firster and you got a Chad firster. I think you're going to get. I think you'll get a bit of a price on this horse.
Yeah, we'll give it a go. Obviously looking at the horses and checking the tote board. That's the kind of thing that it's either going to get me really on a Fluid Situation or maybe move Fluid Situation to a deeper backup. But I don't need everything to align. I don't need a horse that's bet right and looks good to my eye. One or the other, and typically with the looking at them being the more important of the two for me. So yeah, more to come on race 6. If I'm thinking about it, I'll send out a tweet too as my thoughts evolve on that one, since it is such an important race kicking off this $1 pick 6 on Saturday. Let's move to leg B, race number 7, 3-year-old allowance types going 1 1/16 on the turf. I liked Ombre in this spot. Number 4 took a big step forward last time. Might not be done improving for Barclay Tagg. Good combination of positional speed and finish. The 9 Munquad had a very rough go of things last time when overrated, maybe you'd say grabbed early and then sent wide. Some might say Rosario, a little harsh. But the switch to Johnny V should suit, and the race 2 back was very good. Everybody knows I love Joel, but you do see those kind of rides from time to time from him. Monk Wide is in the mix. And then the 6 Mira Mission, couple of very nice races, isn't far behind the top 2. And another I'd like to include on some tickets. Matt, how do you see it?
Yeah, it's a bit of another spread race for me. This is a tough sequence. So the first 2 races, not easy to narrow down. I'll throw in another one. You mentioned Joel Rosario on the 11 space launch. Listen, Joel's heating up. Seeing that in person yesterday, some nice back-to-back 2-year-old efforts on the turf, one routing, one sprinting, just perfectly timed. Just Joel Rosario. So he's a guy where when he gets hot, he gets very hot. And I also like the horses first, off a long layoff. I thought it was a good race coming off a long layoff. It's going to have to step up a bit here. This is against tougher company, but I think that second off the layoff, you get Joel. I think this horse can settle probably mid-pack and make a nice run late, although I think the pace is going to be a bit slow. But that's an additional horse I'll throw in there as well, Pete. I agree with the others you mentioned. Ombre, I agree with you as well. But I thought the 11 space launch would be a bit interesting with Joel Rosario aboard.
Who would you make a top pick?
I'd make the 11. I go 11. I'm going to use the 11 and the 4 Ombre as my A's. And then one addition I will back up with. I'm not sure if you mentioned the 7 Calibrate. Just interesting. First time turf, trying something different. Is going to get out to the lead. I don't know if this horse has a staying power. It has proven to give it up late, but I think can certainly appreciate with the turf and going long, gets out there, gets free, gets brave, and takes him home. So that's a horse I want to include as well.
Could be loose. I went back and forth. Ultimately, didn't look great on the Equine Edge genetic strength rating. So I was thinking, I like so many others, I was going to maybe try to beat. But as you talk about it, probably should be included as a backup on pace and pace considerations. And we've seen these horses that can run pretty solid figures on the dirt. Sometimes they're tough, and they can transfer that form even when the blood doesn't scream that it's what they want to be doing.
Could be even like a C line base wager type. I've done that before, where the horse I'm fuzzy on a C line, where I single the horse and I'll play it just for the base for the dollar and just see maybe if I can catch it. But you're going to have to make decisions. But again, this is why I love the dollar base pick 6. The 20 cents, you just include everybody, right? The dollar, you're going to have to make decisions. And that's where I think it gets challenging in a sequence like this.
It's a great point. And when you say single, you mean just on that, on let's say you play 20 tickets, one of them is just a little line where you've got the 7 in this race with all your strongest opinions in all the others.
Exactly. Surrounded by A's, that one's in there for a single just to play around with it. But again, just thought it was interesting. Setting the pace could get out there and take it wire to wire.
Let's talk about race number 8. We've got 3 and up filly and mare, maiden, special weights, mile on the inner turf with 100,000 in the pot. Matt, we'll keep it with you.
Again, gonna be a little bit boring here, but split the double. I think third time off the or third time on the turf, second off the layoff. Just missed against Better last out. Again, you've got the connections there as well. Ortiz and Chad, I think, will draw a lot of money in this race. It should sit just off the pace. I think should get a nice run. So I think it's certainly logical there. I thought a horse that was interesting was the number 8, Naked on the Beach. Something I will not be, but it's a horse I will be using as a B in this. I just think it's interesting. The trainer change over to Norm Cassie and Santana getting aboard. I thought took a really bad step in that last race and just every chance went out the door in that second time out. The first race on that good turf over at Keeneland, I thought was a really nice effort. So I think this is one where, I don't know, you might catch a little bit of a price here. I think there's some talent there, and I don't think we've really seen it yet. So at least for a B, I'll put that horse in there. And then I think the other horse I'd like to use is the other Chad is the 3, Rastafara. Is that right? Third time out, second off the layoff. Again, no, they're logical, but my experience yesterday in the pick 5, I used some logicals in those 2-year-old turf races and cashed out very nicely. So again, I think those are probably the logicals, but I think the 8 Naked on the Beach, I think, is interesting as well.
we've said it many times. It's really your success in this game, depending on what your ultimate goals are. But the way that you bet, in many ways, so much more important than the horses you pick. And so what you're saying about using logicals and trying to bet them correctly and spend time structuring your tickets, that really resonates with me. We're very similar in here. We just have a different third horse, but I'm with you on Split Bend Double. Ran great last time despite trouble. Looks bound to improve. The form of that race working out very well. Chad Brown due to explode. Been bubbling up under the surface in this meet, and that's not going to continue. I put my different horse I listed as my second pick, the 9 Ego Trip. I didn't want to sleep on. That was a solid race on debut at Newcastle. And I like the fact that she's worked locally on the turf for Brendan Walsh, a trainer I typically will give a little extra credit to. And I just thought that the 9 also might get a bit lost in the wagering with the 2 Chad Brown runners. And then my third pick was Naked on the Beach, enduring 2 rough trips, shown plenty of talent. Norm Cassie off to a good start at the meet. I don't necessarily want to be naked on the beach, but I want to bet naked on the beach in this spot. And I don't mind using Rastafari as a backup either. I'm a little tired of the act for a horse that has been very well fancied and well thought of since the winter at Tampa, but I'm not going to cut my nose off to spite my face either. You'll see some 3s on my ticket. And with that, let's talk about race number 9. It's an allowance race for fillies and mares, this time on the dirt, going 7 furlongs. I felt like you could make a case for so many horses, and I kind of hate it when this happens. I could make a case for so many horses, and I loop back to the favorite. Number 6, Caramel Swirl. That was a tough trip against Stakes Company last time in the first start against Winners, making all the sense in the world back at the condition, or as we like to say, in amongst friends. Couple of the others I would like in the spot are the 5, Amendment 19, ran well despite trouble last time as well. Another I want to use in this competitive race, and the 1, Glass Ceiling. Bit of a nibbler, this one, but I think might be headed in the right direction for the new barn. I thought could maybe get involved at a price definitely for your verticals. I had it 651. I could probably give you 3 more numbers too. What did you like, Matt?
I'm going to try to beat the favorite here. I went 285 as my A's. I'm going to use Glass Ceiling as a B. I just thought making sense, just nice. You're going to get class relief here with Manny. 2 nice efforts here at Saratoga with a win against a similar group. Again, I think can step out early and get on that early pace. Has proven to fire fresh off the layoff. I think that's the concern is the layoff, but I think can fire fresh here. Similar to Flash Magic, the 8. Excuse me, up, it's going to be up in that pace. I think was impressive. First off, a long layoff, and I just needs to step up, but I think it'd be really competitive here. So I'm going to look for the 2 who I think are going to be the most forwardly placed out here. And just to add to the 5, Amendment 19, I have a monster late pace figure for this horse, like probably the best of the day. So if that does get a bit hot up front, I mean, that's a horse I definitely want to have in my ticket, like we've talked before, right? The pressing the pace, and then if it gets a bit hot out there, I want to have someone I want to have a horse that's going to be closing in on there as well. And then also Glass Ceiling, I felt was an include on the B line. But I'm looking for a couple prices here. I'm trying to beat a favorite and see if I get a nice price.
Stakes action in race number 10. It's the grade 3 Caress 4 and up fillies and mares going 5.5. I was thrilled to see Bobby Flay buy into Caravel, but the horse kept with an underrated conditioner in Liz Merriman. Yes, I had horses with her back in the day, but always have respected her work. This was a big race at Monmouth. I think could get another great stalk and pounce trip in this spot. I like number 1, Caravel. Robin Sparkles, obviously, the other major contender. Number 2 should be able to shake loose from Jakarta to her outside. Going to take a whole lot of beating in this spot. I'll be backing up with the 2 Robin Sparkles. And then the other I was going to use more for verticals, the 5 Flower Point should be finishing under Rosario. I'll use for a penny on top as well. I liked it 125. Where are you in the Caress?
So I took the logicals. I'm going to split them. I'm going to go single A, single B. I'm going to go single A, not just liking the fictitious single of let's go to the mall for Robin Sparkles, but I'm going to single the horse here. I just think can get out and set a comfortable, sensible pace. This horse has done nothing wrong sprinting. I just think it might be too much for Caravel to run down, but I'm guessing a little bit here. I just look at it from the broader lens of the sequence. I feel like I've got to make a decision here, I think. And I think I'm going to press it with Robin Sparkles, but I will have a lone B of Caravel here too. Because again, anyone steps out and presses Robin Sparkles, that just makes an absolute dream trip for the one Caravel in this race. So
I think Saez is gonna engage, just knowing him and knowing Jakarta's past. It feels like their only path to victory is to go. Now, maybe she's not fast enough to hang with Robin Sparkles, and then it's game, set, match, quite possibly. But that's how we see it very similarly, just with that one variable we're each taking in the other direction.
And Robin Sparkles is a How I Met Your Mother reference, by the way, and anyone scoring at home. So if you're wondering what the heck you're talking about,
I knew there was some pop culture going on there, and any show that has cast members from both Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Freaks and Geeks is I haven't seen the whole run, but I've seen enough of it to know that I like it. So there you go.
It was one of those shows my wife liked that I was kind of half watching, but I remember that character, that fictitious character, of when she was a pop star as a kid singing at malls, and it was Robin Sparkles was the name. So
that's fantastic.
Things you remember, right?
That's funny that you mentioned that, because I actually was unwillingly dragged to Buffy back 20 years ago by Susan, and ended up getting just as into it as she was. Fantastic stuff. All right, let's talk about race number 11. We have New York breds in the mix. 3 and up filly and mare allowance types, a mile and a 16th on the inner. How are we going to get paid, Matt?
I think you got to use the favorite here. I think you got to use My Lips Are Sealed. I mean, there's one way to go, and that's to the lead. So I think this horse is going to fire to the lead. Listen, I mean, has proven at a few times to give it up late. So I mean, I think that could be your concern, but I mean, I think this horse is just going to get out there and try to run them off their feet. So I think you got to use the 7. A couple other horses I wanted to use. I thought the number 8, Choose Happiness, I thought was interesting coming off the pace. Again, another similar situation where if the 7 gets softened up even just a little bit, I'm concerned. If I see any horse go out early with My Lips Are Sealed, I'm going to be nervous with a lot of tickets that I have. But I think the 8 Choose Happiness can run them down late. We'll have to step up. It's definitely running against better here. And then I'll throw out a bomb. The number 2, Emma and I thought that was interesting, and from your look on your face, Pete, it sounds like you might be on board here as well. Listen, I think steady improvement is going to get another fast pace potentially to run into. I think can certainly improve there, but Ryerson's 6 for 12, positive 220% ROI in the last 30 days. Love that. Love recency when it comes to getting hot on the trainer side. And then just if you look at allowance turf races, 21%. Positive 134% ROI. So there's some numbers there to back it. I do like the horse too, though. I think can get another nice pace to run into. So I'll probably be singling the 7 on a bunch of tickets, but I'm going to back up with the 8 and the 2 as well for some price.
Same 3 numbers, and it just makes me laugh because it is sort of the best speed, the best stalker, and then potentially, if it totally falls apart, the one that could benefit from that. I don't have much to add. 7-8-2 in the nightcap. Quick word on the CCA Oaks penalty kick for Malathot, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Again, it's short field, but I think competitive field. So no, I'm with you there. I think that's going to be a competitive race, but this entire card is incredibly competitive. I think if you're playing in the Saturday contest as well, I think you're going to see some wacky numbers in there. But I just think that every race that I looked at was very competitive. Even a race like that, short field, I think can be a competitive one. It can be tricky too. So I think it's a great card coming up here on Saturday. One
more to watch than to bet, I think it's safe to say, about the CCA Oaks. Do you have one of the alternatives that you might be interested in there, or you?
No, not really. I kind of feel the same way. More of a watch. It's usually a race I get into trouble. I don't know. I'm either trying to be too creative or just trying to use the proverbial easy square and move on, but it never seems to work out that way. But No, I agree with you. I think it's also again it's part of some pick bets. So I mean, obviously you got to get involved. Obviously, if you're playing that, but no, I think I think that it's going to be a competitive race, short field. But like I said, I think there's so many races on this card that you can go so many different directions. I think the pick six is either going to pay huge or carry. But I think it's worth a shot. Again, I love the dollar pick six coming back. That is by far my favorite wager on the menu at Saratoga.
I wish I could be there in person. I'm going to be on Sky Sports Racing Saturday and Sunday this weekend, so I'll miss you. But hopefully, sounds like I have a chance to see you over there today. I hope that comes to be, and I hope we get you back on the air soon. Matt Vagvolgyi, thanks for your time today.
You got it, Pete. Anytime.
Very happy this season to be partnering once again with our friends at Monmouth Park. Racing is back at Monmouth. I absolutely love the place. 3-day racing calendar right now with the Friday sunset racing starting at 5. If I weren't here every weekend, I might be taking the boat down to beautiful Monmouth Park. Racing starts early on Saturdays and Sundays as well. I think it's typically a 12:15 first post, and you're going to want to get involved in the win early pick 5 that they have. Win early and win often with that early pick 5 at Monmouth. It's proved to be a popular wager. Check it out, and to learn more, go to monmouthpark.com. We've got bonus content on today's In the Money Players podcast. Very happy to bring in a man whose work I've admired around the racetracks of New York and elsewhere. He is a grade 1 winning trainer, Tom Morley. Tom, how are things?
Good. Nice to be here. It's a beautiful day up here in Saratoga. It looks like the rain's pushed off for now, which I think the locals are very pleased about because we've had a very wet few weeks up here. But sun is out. It's nice and crisp, and it's great to be into the teeth of the meat up here.
We are in Saratoga, both of us, but you're here today to talk about action across the Atlantic Ocean in the Berks at Ascot on Saturday. We've got the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Qipco Stakes, a win-in-your-in race for the Breeders' Cup, and it's a particularly interesting running. I wanted to bring in somebody with some specialist knowledge, and thanks to your wife and my colleague, Maggie Wolfendale, we made the magic happen. Thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it.
No, I may live here and train here, but I do follow the racing from home very, very closely. And what a treat we're in for tomorrow, it looks like. I mean, this is as deep a field. It's not a numerically strong field, but the quality of the horses running tomorrow in the King George is exceptional.
We talked before about the weather in Saratoga. Feels like the weather in England might play a role in the outcome of this race. How hard of a race is this to analyze without knowing if the rain's going to come before the race?
So literally the last thing I did before I signed in here was to check the weather one more time, and it does look like tomorrow morning, though it's been unbelievably hot for the last 2 weeks in England. The clerk of the course at Ascot will be in a very difficult position because he won't want a lot of rain on very, very firm ground. So if there is a lot coming, he probably will have put a little bit of water on now to make sure whatever arrives gets into the ground. Otherwise, you risk having very, very loose ground on top of a very hard base. But it does look like starting tomorrow morning, there's a potential for some pretty severe storms going through Ascot. And it just depends on how much they actually get. And it is a track that takes water very, very well. They haven't had a lot of rain, but it's certainly, there's looking through the form of some of the horses. Some of them are definitely better on faster summer ground, and some of them certainly seem to excel when there's some real give in the ground.
It feels like the conversation should maybe start with Love in this year's race. What do you think of her chances in this spot, and how will the rain affect her?
Love may just be one of those fillies that fits into the absolutely exceptional bracket. She's done absolutely nothing wrong through her whole career. She's extremely highly thought of at Ballydoyle. And this is a chance for her to prove against boys in a midsummer flagship race how good she really is. She's a filly who has done obviously she's done absolutely nothing wrong through her whole career, and last year went the perfect 3 for 3. She couldn't have been any more impressive than she was at Epsom when she won the Oaks, and she looks like she possibly handles most types of ground. She's obviously there's a little bit of her pedigree with Pivotal in there. The Pivotals tend to handle some juice in the ground, but she's won on everything from yielding ground to good ground and good firm ground. She's an exceptional horse. She's clearly the one to beat, but she's meeting a really, really good group of horses here, full stop.
Adyar listed as second in the betting right now, and another obvious contender in this short field, but as you point out, loaded race. What do you make of Adyar's chance?
So obviously he was extremely impressive at Epsom. He handled the undulations very well. He was given a super ride by Adam, and it's great when you see the Derby winner come back and run in the King George and take the Elders on. And we saw St Mark's Basilica do it earlier in the year in the Eclipse. And there's a question, this is the time of the year where you generally get a feel of how good the 3-year-olds are. And we're going to get to see the Derby winner run against last year's Oaks winner, run against the horse who was second in the Irish Derby. I mean, the depth of the field is so much that you've got a filly like Wonderful Tonight, who's a 2-time Grade 1 winner who beat the Colts at Royal Ascot. She's listed at 14-1 morning line.
The international, the bookies have not fallen for that. Seeing only about as high as 6-1 on Wonderful Tonight, but it is even at that number for multiple Group 1 winner shows how deep the field is. I think a lot of USA players, their eyes are going to be drawn to Mishriff, who's been installed along the lines of 9-1. 10-1, just been so impressive, presumably ready to move forward off the last race and laid down such an impressive challenge on the dirt in Dubai. What do you think of Mishriff's abilities and chance in this race?
So not only a Grade 1 winner on turf, but he's a Grade 1 winner on dirt, winning the Saudi Cup and beating a very, very good horse in Knicks Go in the process. So he's familiar to the American audience from his win in Riyadh. Then he went back to the turf and went to Dubai, won the Dubai Shima Classic in what was possibly, I don't want to say a subpar quality field, but these are a different ball game of horses that he's going to have to face here. And actually, I don't think he did an awful lot wrong last time when he was third in the Eclipse. He ran very well over a trip that's probably a little bit short of his best at 10 furlongs rather than at 12 on the turf. And he ran into a horse that is extremely highly thought of. It was, again, a short field, but a field packed with quality. And St Mark's Basilica looks like a really very, very special colt indeed. So, he's another one who you can't really fault his form. He comes in off 3 extremely solid races this year, and you'd have to give him a really decent chance. He's one who might be a little bit hindered by the ground if it was either extreme, if it was very, very fast or very, very soft. And it depends on how much rain they get. But, he probably just wants genuine good ground, this horse.
Frankie Dettori rides Lone Eagle, another who goes here with plenty of interesting looking form in the book, and according to the bookies, has to be considered on the short list, as does most of this field. Where are you with Lone Eagle?
So I'm actually I would take a stand against this horse. I thought it was set. I don't think there was any excuse in Ireland when he finished second. I don't know how strong the Irish Derby form is against the English Derby form, but certainly I think that Hurricane Lane is maybe not in the same caliber as St Mark's Basilica, and yet he was good enough to beat this horse. If I had to take a stand against a horse in this race, I would probably take a stand against Lone Eagle and err on the side of, if it starts raining at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, I'd want a really big piece of Wonderful Tonight instead of Lone Eagle.
That makes sense to me. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire, and you can hedge based on weather concerns if you want. But if I forced you to take one horse as your idea of the winner, who would it be?
Well, I'm not sure that Love might not be the best horse in training anywhere in the world right now. So if there isn't an absolute deluge, then I would have to side with her. If it gets really, really soft, then I do think that Wonderful Tonight comes into the equation. She will be prominent in the race. She stays very well. She's a Grade 1 winner at 1 3/4 miles. As we know, Ascot is a very stiff track. It'll be a real searching test of stamina towards the end of this race. And I think that, she might just be very hard to peg back.
What do the Beatles and Tom Morley have in common? They both think that love is all you need. Good stuff, my friend. Can't wait to get a chance to hopefully see you in person over the next couple days, and really looking forward to this year's exciting running of the King George VI and Queen Elizabeth Qipco Stakes. Today's New York Racing segment brought to you by our friends at NYRA.com. Want to let you know about the $3,000 Whitney Challenge presented by Jack Pocket. The date is Saturday, August 7th. This is a $3,000 buy-in contest, a minimum requirement of $400 wagered on 5 races, cash payouts through 5th, entries to the 2022 NHC, and a seeded entry into next year's $10,000 Belmont Stakes Challenge as well. You can play on track at Saratoga or online with NYRA Bets. To learn more, go to NYRA.com. For our last segment of the show, there has been a costume change. I feel like Diana Ross or something. There's also been a venue change. PTF now back with you from the Brentwood. Usually we're here on Saturday mornings at 10:30 a.m. Folks are welcome to come check out a great array of guests. But for complicated reasons I won't bother to get into, I'm now here on a Thursday afternoon recording our Saturday show. And since this is the segment about Woodbine, there was really only one choice of guest as far as I'm concerned. That's our resident Woodbine expert from InTheMoneyPodcast.com. He is Drew Coatney. Drew, how are things?
I'm good. We had a good weekend last weekend, so let's keep it rolling through my birthday weekend.
I like it. You need those winners on the birthday. Famously, for many years, it's just like one of those things. Bill Mott wins on his birthday. I always lose on my birthday. Though, and this is an absolutely true story, you can look it up. Back as far as 1997, I'm going to guess, there was a horse running on my birthday, August 4th, at Saratoga, named Birthday, and I scored out on that one. I think it was a filly. But I think I've pretty much taken an over since.
Wow. That's almost like too good. That's too good of a hunch play right there.
I did, it was like at the time it was a big bet for me. I think it was $10.
Yeah, it's like someone naming a horse Fornatal podcaster, and you don't bet it. That's just terrible.
There's not been a Fornatal horse. There is a Kinchin horse, and I think JK has told that awesome story. Can't wait to see that one. I believe it's a Lope de Vega owned by E5 Racing and our buddy Bob Edwards. Very much looking forward to that one, named in tribute to the great Big Ralph Kinchin, who we lost last year, but has been commemorated with this naming of this equine, who, based on the people involved, could be a good one. We got to get a Coatney named one of these days.
I don't know if I have the clout that man does running around Saratoga in the horse industry, but hey, I'll take it if I can get it.
You keep giving out these $20 winners at Woodbine. They might you might get one north of the border for you. Maybe trained by Pat Parenti. I think I could see this happening, Drew. We got to keep our act together. This is a good card at Woodbine on Saturday, not to get overlooked in the midst of the summer meets at Saratoga and Del Mar. Usually we talk about the last 4 races at Woodbine on this show. We're going to go one better this time because we've got graded stakes action in the Nassau. I've got a strong fancy in here that I think will be a lot of people's top pick. Let's kick it off with you, though, and see if this is a spot where you're creative or if you're going to dial down on a shorter-priced horse like me.
Yeah, there's a bit of speed sign down here, and I think this is going to set up best for a bit of a stalker. And you got to look at number 5, Abscond, 4-1 on the morning line. I'm assuming with that inside draw is going to get bet down quite a bit and is dodging all of the behemoths out on the East Coast. So I'm not going to go too deep into all the reasons other than best figure. It's going to have a good pace to run at and won't be too far back as much as was in the last at the Belmont. So I'm going with the number 5 Abscond, and I do have a longer price I will give out here after you give your pick.
I'm all about Jolie Olympica in this spot. This is a filly I've liked for a long time. Apparently has become a bleeder, and those bleeding issues in California have led her up to Woodbine for this test. She comes out extremely strong just on the normal figures and form reasons, but also looked really good. We heard from Scottie Mckeever earlier in the show. The Equinedge strength of race ratings, a big-time standout. But really the thing for me, I think has a chance to be on or near a pace that she might be able to control. And just looking back at her best races like her Jenny Wiley, she drowns him if she runs back to that. So it's Jolie Olympica and Jolie Olympica alone for me. Who's your longer price who are interested in mixing in?
Yeah, I like the number 3, Tappity Tappity. I think is somewhat rounding into form. We'll definitely need to have a big step forward, but ran extremely inefficient in the last race off the long layoff and had a few checks and tugging and just very not what you want to see in your horses they're running around. Was pretty patient, though, as they got to the top of the stretch and made a good move against that flow, which is coded as blue in time form. So the number 3, Tappity Tappity, might, if our 2 favorites kind of duke it out, which I could see happening with a few other speedballs in here. Number 3, Tappity Tappity, just might get it set up. And, I mean, the connections of Live Oak and Mark Casse, it's not like we're talking some no-names here. They're serious connections, and they're out there to win.
They'd certainly need no introduction. And I like your case on Tappity Tappity. Second off the layoff after chasing those blue fractions. I think the pace is going to hold together. But sometimes what I'll do in a multi-race bet especially is just take a little bit of money and play the horse that will benefit if they go too fast. And I agree, Tappity Tappity would probably be the one for that. So if I were to save, I like your notion on the 3, but I'm going to stick to my guns with Jolie Olympica. We'll see how it works out at about 3:45 Eastern on Saturday when they hit the wire for the Grade 2 Nassau. Let's move on to race number 7. We go to the starter allowance, ranks 3 and up. We're going a mile on the inner turf in this one. There's 3 runners, I think, in the end I decided I was going to use. As A's, I wanted the 6, Super Watson, who I expect to get a great trip stalking the speed and should improve second time off the layoff. And I'd also like number 2, There's No Joe, a candidate to be the best speed. And a mile on turf is new for There Knows Joe. But again, looking at Equine Edge and their genetic strength ratings, one of the things I really love that GSR for is horses doing something a little bit different. There's No Joe comes out really well on GSR for this particular test. And then not dissimilar to your Tappity Tappity idea that we talked about in race number 6, I think number 7, Accessible One, looks good on the late sectionals, maybe one to come running late for a piece, and I'd probably use on top for a penny as well. Race number 7 for me, I like the 6 and 2 as A's and the 7 as a B. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you on the number 2, There's No Joe. You love to see those final time form figures continue to climb in each and every start for the most part. Yeah, trying 2 turns for the first time, I don't love it, especially at the 9 to 5. And some of these other horses that this one's been running in front of have been letting us down, whether it's Candy Overload or Union Colonel in those ranks. So I'm going to use the number 2, but my best value top choice would be the number 4, Shangasa. Last out ran a really stinking good race at 30-1, running right behind Juan Pablo, who just came back and ran against Holyfield and Pisacati that did quite well and split those pairs in that event. So I think if you just look at that race and project a bit upward with not so much work to do late, could be sitting on a really good race. And I love the way the number 4 finished, just staying right in front and re-braking almost to not give in to Strike the Top. Who was the second favorite in that race. So I think this one's going to go overlooked. I think we're going to get a little higher even than 10-1, and should be value for us. And Fukumoto, in him I trust to get this one around with a pretty ground-saving trip.
It's a good case. The Equine Edge morning line has the 4 Shangasa at 20-1. So they agree with you that you might get a little bit of juice in the price. Any others to mention in race number 7, or shall we keep it rocking and rolling?
Yeah, we're going to keep it rocking and rolling.
Let's do it. Race number 8, the 3 and up maidens with this big purse, $123,000 going a mile and a 16th on the turf will take center stage. Drew, how do you see this one?
Yeah, I like the number 6 Spike at 10-1. Again, another value play here. Last that was too short and couldn't keep the pace in those early stage type sprint activities. Tried to close really wide and was just a bit wrapped up at that point, saying, you know what? We're not going to get this one. So I think today is going to have a much slower pace, therefore will be placed much more forwardly. Love to see Sean Bridgemahan north of the border now. Could just get loose on this pack entirely. And I think that 2-back Turfway Paradise the Turfway Park. Is that the right track?
You got it.
There we go. Second guessing myself. Turf Paradise.
Put the U when it's Turf Paradise. They put the little U in the middle. When it's just TP, that's terrific.
Yeah, and I thought that race was pretty good almost after the 2-year break. And this will be the first time we'll get to see this horse going second off the bench in this entire career. So the number 6 Spike is a big A for me. Also, the number 1 Hit the Point, you have to imagine, is going to get bet down off of that 5-1 morning line. First time gelding for high-class connections, dropping in class, and might be able to get something done. I do have a bad favorite I'll call out, but I'll turn it to you first before.
Well, there's two you could be talking about, and I'm opposed. The favorite that I'm opposed to a little bit is the 4 Opus North. The favorite that I'm very interested in is number 5 Money Printer. I love this pedigree. I thought Money Printer looked like a likely improver for a trainer very strong in the category, and Josie Carroll had that comebacker. Then she's good with these types of layoffs. I don't see how Money Printer isn't going to improve and be somewhere in the mix. So which of the favorites were you going to knock?
Yeah, the number 5 Money Printer, when debuting in November, just couldn't get his head down really well, was a bit all over and wouldn't switch leads. And we almost saw that act again on June 13th. Just couldn't get anything done, and now they're having to throw the blinkers on to see if that might help and get some finish out of this one. Has all the ability to pull himself into the race. I mean, it was amazing. It looked like a winner turning around that turn, and then just couldn't run in a straight line down the lane. So maybe the blinkers help, but I would rather take a higher price on a different horse than trying to hope that they've gotten this one worked out. And you'd hope that they'd have gotten that worked out in 7 months, and if they hadn't on those lane drives, I think I'm looking elsewhere. Love L&J Foxwoods, but I just don't think this one's for me.
I mean, I can certainly accept that and wouldn't argue too much with you. But I will say, to me, it's a very big deal, a horse stringing 2 races together for the first time. And based on the blood and the hands that he's in, I was going to trust that he could get his act together. Were you similarly anti-Opus North? That's the one I thought might be able to make the market. And I don't have anything against the horse, but was just thinking might need the race.
Yeah, I think so too. And has looked like should have won multiple times. 5-year-old, so I think we've seen the bottom of the barrel, right? 2 to 3, you see pretty big jumps. 3 to 4, you see a little bit smaller jumps, and then anything on pretty much maturity is reached. So the number 4 Opus North was almost an instant toss for me.
Okay, well, we're on the same page as far as that goes. Let's move to race number 9, 3-1 filly and mare allowance, going 1 mile and an 1/8 on the synthetic. I like the price in this spot. Number 7, Oceans of Love. Off the layoff, she got caught chasing Blue Fraction. I feel like Oceans of Love is supposed to move up here. And similar to a case you made about a runner earlier in the race, given the pace scenario in this spot, I'm thinking Oceans of Love might be a little bit closer than the last day, maybe back to the stalk and pounce type tactics we saw earlier in her career. Hopefully the 8-1 of the morning line materializes, because there is a big favorite in here in Art of Almost, who's live, and probably if I were doing a longer pick, I'd feel compelled to back up with a little bit, but I don't love at that price. I think there's some other ways to go in here. Who did you pick?
Yeah, I don't think Art of Almost price at 4 to 5 is going to stay. It's a little strange that they'd make that such a below evens line when I think it's going to drift up to 2 to 1. Curious to see what Equine Edge has this projected at while I give out my top pick, the number 6, A Fleet Catherine. Last out, it just like screamed needs longer, was going the inner turf down the 2 turns, way too far back and against the pace flow, and it just looked like that horse had needed that from that merry-go-round type of effort. So getting the 2 turns at the 1 mile and an 1/8, a bit more sweeping, and I think A Fleet Catherine still has a lot of improving left to do. Stein stays aboard. All systems are a go. I think going to stalk the field and make a nice 1-run move as they tip out of the turn.
Another one that I would prefer to Art of Almost, I'm going to stick with the 7, Oceans of Love. You mentioned about Sean Bridgmahan taking his tack up to Woodbine. Should also be noted that Antonio Gallardo going to be riding up north as that jockey column gets a little bit deeper. Should be interesting to see some of these bigger names from the States making this relocation, and we'll see what kind of an impact they can have on the racing up there. Any particular riders who've impressed you so far this meet?
Nothing than the normal. I think Bollinger always has a little bit of a sneaky edge and is always trying to game the others. So I pay attention to him pretty well. But otherwise, you see the usual suspects of Hernandez and Emma Jane Wilson, all those likes that are pretty much heads-up riders. So, but Bollinger, I think, has a pretty sneaky way about him and is winning at a decent clip, and it can make a live long shot very, very live.
It's an interesting pattern to follow when a rider comes back from an injury who was out for a while, like Boulanger was. And you'll sometimes see them, they'll come back, they're finally fully healed, and their body is more cooperative. And then they come back, they start doing well, they start building momentum and can sort of take off from there. So I think that's a good call out on that one. Let's move on to the anchor leg in the sequence, race number 10. We've got 3 and up maidens going 7 furlongs on the turf. Drew, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, let's make some money on this one. I'm on a price of the number, oh shoot, I didn't write the number here, but Pride and Passion, the number 6. Yeah, I think really ran quite a good race for being 75-1 last out. And I think, yeah, it blew the brake a bit by getting pinched and was stalking in tight, checking a few times in the lane. There was a bit of a lead change issue. I think it was just kind of figuring things out. And I think today could project quite well up with this bunch that doesn't look too tough. So the number 6, Pride and Passion for me, but I'm also going to take the number 5, Dr. Green. Again, a bad trip, checked hard into the far turn while trying to make that move and really re-rallied well along that rail with kind of, I look for those, not much of an asking, kind of a, okay, we're just here for the workout situation. And Dr. Green kind of fit that bill for me. So I'm on the 6 and the 5 as my dual A's in this race.
I liked a couple of different runners. I was interested in one at a price. The trip player in me, though, wants to put number 3, Ben Lyon, on top. This one had all manner of difficulty in the last start, not breaking well, chasing a slow pace, and then having to check and never really putting any type of effort for it. The horse was bet going into that day, second off the layoff here. I definitely want some 3s on my tickets. But what about the 9, Star Scholar, as a potential pace play? This one had shown plenty of speed back in the June 13th start, and now third race off the layoff, back in just 16 days, should be very sharp, stretching out from the synth to the turf. A bit of a stab, but I mean, this is a horse who could be a big price. Oh, I forgot to button up the Art of Almost discussion in race number 9. Equine Edge had Art of Almost as a 3-2 shot. That's their Equine Edge morning line, their guess as to the price that one will be. Star Scholar, actually, they have catching a little money and being just 7-1. At that number, I'd call it just the price. At the 15-1 of the morning line, I'd be super interested in the 9, Star Scholar. I was going to play at 3-9, but I don't mind either of yours as backups. Any others you want to mention in this spot?
No, I just wanted to say I agree with you. I don't mind in that event either of those two. So I'll probably be using your 2 as well, just to get some coverage in these wide open events where I think if you're going to try and take the stand, that's a risky proposition that you'll get paid for if you try and get too skinny.
Woodbine track, I really like the double. The doubles have pretty good financial terms. That's where I spend most of my money if I can't find a win bet. And the double's nice because being able to lock in that price. I've seen a lot of late price movements in the win pool, which leads me to the double. And, if the opinion is there, I have nothing wrong with the pick 4 and pick 5, but I tend in Woodbine to look for 1 or 2 horses I think are going to be value with the thought of using them in the double, as opposed to always looking to play the longer picks, which I think makes a little bit of sense if you have the right opinions in a track like Saratoga, for example. Where's most of your betting dollars gone at Woodbine so far this meet? Which pools?
Yeah, I try and stay away from the pick 5. I had a great conversation with Marshall Graham recently, just based off of Eric Bialik's probability analysis and slimming back down to the pick 3, which I know doesn't have as attractive incentives, but also the doubles. I'll be probably playing a double with Abscond in race 6 into the Shagnash Shangasa, and
I think it's Shangasa. I'm going to say Shangasa on that one.
Shangasa. Okay, so
it just sounds good, doesn't it?
It sounds a lot better than whatever the hell I just said a second ago.
I wasn't going to say it that way, but yes.
I'll play the doubles into that, and then I think we're going to get some value too on sticking with race 8, the Spike and Hit the Point, kind of coupling those up into a Fleet Catherine, because I think that horse is just going to go a little overlooked with some of the other runners. So yeah, doubles and pick 3s. I like to just keep it small and put a lot into the win pools as well. the old pick one, I think, helps build up some confidence.
Love that pick one. Absolutely love that pick one. Keeps things fun and a little less frustrating. Closing thought for the folks ahead of this weekend's action at Woodbine. Where will you be watching from?
Yeah, I will be watching Saturday. Hopefully the rain stays away. Thank you to Marshall Sterling for giving me the bespoke weather forecast over Cadillac, Michigan, where we'll be hanging out on the lake with a pork butt going and hopefully some beers in hand. My write-ups will be on the blog. Follow me along in the betting. I've put some increment weightings to how many units I'm playing in the win pools, as well as some of the horizontal plays. You can see the A, Bs, and Cs that we have. So check that out over at inthemoneypodcast.com.
Excellent. And make sure you check out Drew's Horses to Watch for Woodbine as well. We have this new early week newsletter. Got Nick Tamero doing Horses to Watch from Saratoga, Eric Solomon from Monmouth, and Drew as well. We'll see if we get some of the other contributors involved in that. And that's absolutely free. Just sign up for our newsletter in themoneypodcast.com/email. When is the actual birthday?
Sunday.
Oh,
So I'll be spending it in the
fantastic.
car, unfortunately, on the way back. But.
Oh, that's too bad. You should have taken an extra day. I would have let you have off.
No, I appreciate the offer, boss. But horse players never sleep.
There you go. Fair enough. Good stuff, my friend. Well, I'm going to make another quick costume change and come right back to close out the show. That's going to do it for this edition of the show. I'd like to thank Drew Coatney. I'd like to thank Matt Vagvolgyi, and I'd like to thank Scottie Mckeever. I'll thank myself for the quick costume change I just endured as well here now that we're back in the flop house by the little house on the east side here in Saratoga. Super fun. I want to thank a whole bunch of people, including our friends at Woodbine. We'll thank our friends at Monmouth Park, all the sponsors that have been with us. You've heard about most of them throughout the show, but we always give a special shout out to the Thoroughbred Retirement Foundation. We've still got some whiskey left. We've got the great Gumbo event coming up on August 11th. To find out all the details about everything we've got cooking with our friends at the TRF, go to trfinc.org/players. 10 Strike Racing. Got to have dinner with them last night. Marshall and Clay, how much fun was that? And going to get to see them today at the races. Always love to give the extra shout outs to the purple and the black. Most of all, though, I want to thank all of you, the listeners and viewers who make these shows so much fun to do, especially those of you who completed our survey. But we want your voice to be heard ongoing. One of the best ways to do it, join us for our Horse Player Happy Hour shows on Thursday. Full-on interaction, shout outs. We give your picks. You become part of the show on Thursdays. Absolutely love that. Look for details on Twitter, and you can sign up to play in those Horse Player Happy Hour games with all the proceeds to aftercare at horseplayers.com. Okay, good stuff, folks. This show has been a production of In the Money Media. Our business manager is Drew Coatney. Our chief creative officer is Jonathan Kinchin. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.